Hello, welcome back to another episode of the BARROW Podcast. How you feeling?
Exhausted before I begin.
Exhausted before you begin. Well, yes, last week we did The Body Keeps the Score, the first of, I think 3 parts on The Body Keeps the Score. Thinking about childhood development and slightly moving into kind of like my story. And we were thinking about some stuff that we've already kind of touched on, but maybe you had other questions about it. It was abandonment wounds. I was also thinking about adoption, but we'll get to that later in the episode, perhaps.
Yeah, I think we need to look at how deeply felt abandonment is.
Yeah.
And it comes from, and we've stated this many times, your little voice, where's Dada, where's Dada? So
yes.
it's a schism straight away.
Schism.
I was so carefully thinking about that.
Yeah.
And I still said it the wrong way.
I think it's schism.
Yes, it is. Of course it is. I was thinking that as I said it. We touched on it a little bit the other day. Suddenly, your life is not the same.
Yeah.
And this myth of, you'll quickly all meet together and be on the same page and care. But that also goes for the people who are on the same page. I'm having my reaction.
Yep.
What reaction are you having as the little boy?
Yeah. I've always sort of like, on that, like since we've been doing this, some of those depictions that you have of me or memories you have of me asking like, where's Dada? I mean, like, obviously I can't remember that, but it's like, it's quite shocking to sort of, to discover that. And there's documents I've come across where I've been written about, and it's a very difficult thing to see, to come across this version of your past self. And there's a real vulnerability to that. Like you're reading back on other people's memories and reflections of you. It's quite strange.
One of the, I don't know whether we've ever touched on this, so one of the visceral memories is, remember it's your birthday a few weeks after.
Yes.
3rd birthday. And we're all over the place trying to work things out. And he does come and take you away for a couple of hours when we've finally tracked him down. And of course, the major event of that birthday was this rather extravagant
rocking horse
gift. It came with its own history because I'd had a rocking horse.
Right.
So you were going to have a rocking horse, and it was beautifully crafted. And my only memory of that is you just sitting on it with no emotion being photographed.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And why anyone would still have to capture it in a photo, I don't know to this day. It sort of says something about, again, not being really attuned to what this little boy is thinking and feeling.
Well, I mean, it really speaks to, and in terms of like what I'm feeling and thinking is like, I remember just the robotic nature of the people around me, that they are whirring.
Yeah.
There is a description in a Patrick Melrose novel, an Edward St. Aubyn novel, where he describes a woman as being like a mechanical stick insect.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
and I always think of that because I sort of, there is this absolute mechanical, you've talked about the contrivances and the contrived nature of our later like family enactments. Like, this is a family moment. So it's a birthday party.
Yes.
So everybody comes to dinner.
One must have
And we
photos.
sit around and we open the presents at a particular time. We take pictures and we did birthday. Birthday done. We're okay. Everything's okay. We're a family. And it's like, well, no, you're just kind of performing this ritual. There's nothing that's actually felt.
There's nothing real about it.
Yeah, these things are done sort of in name only, on surface only. And so it's really amazing to me, though, the adherence to the mechanics of things in the face of
the reality.
The reality. And so, like, when you describe that moment of, like, my father has left weeks ago, he's not given an address or a phone number, you don't know where he is. He then comes back to have me for a couple of hours for my birthday, which is bizarre in and of itself.
Yeah.
And you bother to snap a photograph of me on this horse, blank, confused, with my father standing beside me, who is grimacing because he has refused to enter the house, but has done so, against his wishes. I mean,
yeah,
like, you're, like, what are you doing? And I mean, like, I've always thought about how if you were more in tune, if you had a normal, healthy attachment to your mother and your parents, you're not the person passively doing this, taking a picture of your son.
Well, again, you're ticking off the boxes in the midst of extreme conditions.
And that's the environment or the atmosphere that I grew up in, which was like, everything was at odds. The emotions versus the reality. Like, there was just so much repression. Like, we all behaved in such an odd manner. Like if you were upset, you buried it, but then it would manifest in all sorts of weird ways elsewhere. And there was always this strange hypocrisy of, like, my mother's always breaking down and always upset, except at the times when it would be appropriate to be upset.
Yeah.
Like, you're not breaking down there in that moment.
Yeah. So getting back to you and those feelings immediately, are you feeling a sense of having been left?
Yeah, I mean, like, it's difficult for me to recall everything, of course, but it's like, I just remember how quickly my father became a stranger to me and became somebody that I had this, like, visceral internal horror of.
Fear.
It was a fear, but it was also a, just get this person away from me. Like, there is something very, very wrong with this person. And I've used the phrase before, but it's like, I know it in my bones. Like, that's the thing, is like, this person just causes me panic, distress, alarm, discomfort. Like, the feeling of being around him was almost like, it was like a magnet, like it was
very quickly goes from dada to stranger.
Yeah. I remember, like, a hollowness and a kind of a sick feeling, like a disoriented feeling.
Yeah.
In relation to him. And then it congeals and it becomes this, like, very much like a horror fear thing. Yeah, it's sort of a sick feeling at first, like a thing, life has been turned upside down feeling.
Yes.
But that then becomes just a keep this person away from me. Like, with every fiber of my being, I want to get away from this person. And in fact, that manifested where we were at a shopping center, and it's almost like I had, at a certain point, I completely disconnected from him as a human being. He was just a threat to me. Like, he was stranger danger, despite being my father.
Wow.
And there was actually an incident at a shopping center where I had just been pushed to my limit with what I could put up with him, and desperately wanted to go home. And I started calling him man. Get away from me, man. Get away from me, man.
Okay.
And then,
which would have created
quite
a scene.
It caused a huge scene. So he picked me up, and I started screaming, "Put me down, man. Put me down, man." That's all I would not call him dad. Would not call him father. It was, man. Get away from me, man. Put me down, man. And he was stopped by people, and security was called, and he had to show proof of identification.
Oh, my Lord.
It was a horrific thing. And he later would bring this up, sort of joking. Remember that day when you went funny and started calling me man? You refused to call me. And I'm sitting opposite him going, I have not called you dad since 1991. So I don't know. I cannot use that word. Like, I have a horror of that word. And he is not my father. He is not dad. That is disgusting to even consider that. That's just not, and it's physical. Like, even saying that word, I physically feel like I want to push that away, you know?
But you move very quickly to that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so, you know, well, you've already sort of partly explained how you dealt with that.
Yeah.
You really put him aside.
Yeah, I mean, I sort of, we talked in the last week's episode about dissociation. I mean, I definitely dissociated during my encounters with him. Like, he was not my father. He was a stranger. And the time that I was with him had nothing to do with my real life. I just would completely shut down in every sense and just kind of wait it out. That's how I kind of processed or didn't process it. And I've heard of people who are like, they get sexually abused as kids and they dissociate, where they like leave their body during the encounters. And I had similar experiences in that realm because of another abuser, but I would say that is my entire experience of being around my father. Like, I am not there during the time that I'm there. I'm only there physically.
Yeah, and I mean, that's just such a powerful thing to say. And again, in relation to the other adults not being fully attuned to that experience, sometimes we were trying to act out what we'd been told to act out, include the father. So, you know, I'm reacting to this person who's having left and the circumstances, but then I put on you, oh, well, it's Daddy's birthday. So you've got this combination of weird scenario. Where's Dada? You feeling like that, but hang on a minute. I've got to give a card and a gift to Daddy.
Yeah.
So your sense of reality must have been absolutely, you know, devastated.
Yeah, of course. I mean, like, I was just confused. I really didn't know where I was in relation to anyone, which is why I would shut down in that way. I would sort of dissociate and not be there because I didn't really know where I was, like, in space and time. Like,
And what was the proper relationship
No.
now?
No,
Or-
no.
Yeah.
No, never had a
So-
sense of that.
So is that still real to you?
Yeah, completely. Like, I'm very uncomfortable talking about it. Like, I mean, it's just such a horror to have to be so misplaced in relation to like a parent is supposed to be like on a compass, like they're supposed to be your true north, and it's like so obvious where they should be or where you should be in relation to them. To have someone that's like that throws that so out of alignment, it's like being around them is so unbearable because it's like a compass going crazy. It's like that whirring of like, oh, I just feel so uncomfortable, you know, like, and really, it more than anything, more than, you know, past abuse, more than anything, like a moral sense that I might have, or like outrage or whatever. It's simply how uncomfortable I feel in relation to him that I can't have him in my life. Like, to sit in the same room as him makes me feel sick. Like, I feel physically ill. I feel nauseous. And that's never abated. Like, if I was to see him now, I would have that visceral. I mean, like,
reaction.
To the point where I'd probably be actually physically sick. Like, I feel so overwhelmed even thinking about him that I feel sick. Like, it's a sickness that I feel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so you've got that going on about a particular person. How does that affect relations with other people? Or how do you, when you're with people and they're with their father?
Oh, yeah, that's the worst. I mean, like, I hated going into other people's houses because, you know, you would see their family relationships and, like, you know, I mean, you obviously no one's family is perfect, of course, but it's like just even having the basic rapport of being able to, like, say hello to them and know your position. Like, I would just feel really overwhelmed by that. I'd feel envious, of course.
But would you also judge? Oh, he looks good, but maybe not.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I definitely projected a kind of like a paranoia about fathers and men, like a general kind of distrust. I think part of that has to do with feeling excluded, though. Like, so I think I've written a note there actually on the next page about like, you know, when you are left by a parent, and it could be a mother or a father, and you could be a son or a daughter. I'm just going to talk from my perspective and use those words. But like from my perspective, it was like being rejected by, being abandoned was rejection. You know, I mean, like, you sort of internalize it. So you're like, well, I must have done something wrong, or I must not be worthy of this person being it. Like, this person has left me, this person has discarded me, this person has rejected me. But in that, like, certainly for me, I mean, maybe I'm particularly sensitive, but it was not just being abandoned and rejected by one person. It was being abandoned and rejected by fathers, full stop. And, you know, I felt always just excluded from the world of men, of fathers, of boys and fathers, sons and fathers, of children with fathers. Like, I felt rejected by all of that. And, you know, in our culture, we've got so many kind of like family days, and I think I've definitely talked about this on one of the smaller videos I've done on the YouTube channel, but like, you know, we have family days. We have Father's Day, we have Mother's Day.
Yeah.
Obviously we have Christmas, and
Yeah.
and you know, like if you grow up with, you know, a narrative of I come from a broken home, or I come from a home environment, a family environment that's incomplete, therefore I'm incomplete. Like you sort of internalize it. And I think on those family days, whether it's Christmas, Father's Day, whatever, there's a feeling of like, gee, I don't know what that's about. I'm not like other people. I don't get to be part of society. I'll never fully integrate with society because there's something missing. There's something wrong with me. There's something wrong with my situation.
Well, it's continually compounded by the circumstances. I mean, we were talking about access, and I was talking on the level that, well, it was minimal access. But if you just take Christmas, Christmas was always the same. I love the fact that you were always with us on Christmas Day. You went with him on Boxing Day for a couple of days, and that was generally up to
With
your
his-
other grandparents.
Yeah, with my paternal grandparents, yeah.
So on one hand, I'm celebrating that I got Christmas as a mother.
Yeah.
We got Christmas. But it was such a false, contrived experience because we had this glorious day knowing that you were packing a little bag and going away the next day. And every year was the same.
Yeah, I mean, it probably got a little built up too, like
Yeah.
like your anxiety about me
Yeah.
me going compounded my own anxiety about going generally.
It wasn't just a normal get up and have Christmas and open some presents and family coming over. This was the same set of circumstances forever.
Yeah, yeah. I think for me, you know, like particularly going to like an all boys school, there was this rah masculinity
Yeah,
culture that was all
sure.
about boys and men and fathers and sons. Like there even was, I remember, kind of a father's son day that the school had, which, you know, I didn't go because it was for fathers and sons, and I didn't have a father, and so I didn't go and participate on this kind of bonding day, you know. And my father took no interest in my life. Like, I mean, he never asked to attend anything. He never asked to take me to a sports game. As in, like, you know, I played a lot of basketball and I did a lot of things. He never asked me, did I want him to come? He never asked me if he could come. He never
Yeah.
volunteered. He never asked you. He had no interest. I mean, the other thing that I should say here is as well is that apart from when I saw him on Access every other weekend, he did not communicate with me or contact me between those times. So my father never called me. He never sent me a text message through the week. He never asked me how school was. He never, he never called me up to see how I got on at an exam or anything. Like the coldness, I literally only saw him for 32 hours every fortnight.
Yeah.
And he did not make contact with me for a minute between those times. Like, that's how little.
Yeah. It was just an exercise to be ticked off in the scheme of things.
Well, look, I can get into my theory on why he had anything to do with me at all.
Yeah, sure.
It was financially incentivized.
Yeah.
And that has played out, you know, because as soon
absolutely.
as he came into the inheritance that he really had wanted and had sort of kept up appearances with
Yep.
me for
Yes.
attaining that inheritance.
Yes.
He never spoke to me after that. Like as soon as he got his mother's money, he told me, well, if you want to see me, balls in your court, see ya.
Yeah.
And that was that.
Yeah.
And I mean, I was, 18, 19, something like that.
Yeah.
And I haven't heard from him since.
I think from my point of view, and again, this underlines my lack of attunement.
And can I just say on that, I knew he was going to do that from the age of about 5. So keeping him in my life, keeping this ball up in the air and making sure we had a present for Daddy on Father's Day or whatever, and the family court, you know, keeping me tethered to him, I always felt, of all the forms of abuse, what has been most felt as abuse has been everybody keeping me silent and this perpetuating him to get away with being who he was. Never facilitating him to be revealed. I was saying as far back as 10, 12, 13, 14, like, once he gets his mother's money, this guy's not gonna speak to me.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
this is a total farce. This is a farce.
Yeah.
This is a farce. And being forced to participate in this farce to my own undoing, like only to my detriment, that is the thing that has robbed me of any trust or optimism about the world.
Yeah, but I think the adults in your life, were all guilty on that level.
100%, yeah, of course. It served nothing.
Yeah, in lots of ways we were ruled by the system because that's what we did. We followed rules.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure.
So that need to follow rules sort of clouded, judgment.
Yeah, yeah.
And, I don't know how far you want to go into the feelings, Toby, but he's always there in your mind. And I don't think I fully realised that until an event many years later. As soon as access came to an end and your contact came to an end, as soon as he was physically out of my life, he was gone.
Mm-hmm. For you, yeah.
And, not that we ever talked about it. We didn't communicate about it. But maybe I just assumed it was the same for you. And that is one of the big discoveries that we made doing this project. And I'm referring to a particular event that happened and I witnessed, and it just made me so aware of, oh my God, he's still in your head.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that was, I just felt so terrible about that.
Yeah.
Again,
I think...
not really understanding.
Yeah. Well, see, I mean, look, I've aired my frustrations with you privately about, like, not being given a chance to speak, to see a counsellor, to do all these things as a kid. Because it's like, your divorce got hijacked by your parents and it got turned into only your divorce. And there was this expectation that I would somehow ride through it all, understanding what you and your parents understood, which was my father was a complete waste of space and don't worry about it, you'll be fine.
And you'll be resilient. Oh, he'll bounce back.
Yeah, and sort of never ever giving me much compassion for the fact that I had actually lost my father. Like my father is this person to me. He may be whatever he is to you as a son-in-law or an ex-husband, but he takes up a much greater space in my life. But that was never understood because he was so dismissed after certain events. And you touched on ages ago, but like when you were left, that like things are operating at different speeds. So like by the time that person leaves, they've made that decision a year ago.
Yep.
They're at the end of something, you're at the beginning. It's much the same with my thing with him, where it's like you had my whole childhood and adolescence to process your divorce and to be completely finished with him. My childhood and adolescence was my developmental phase with him. That was the beginning of a lifetime of problems.
Yeah.
So we were completely out of sync there. And as you've said, like probably the biggest revelation of me coming home and starting this project with you has been you finally understanding that, my father's on my mind every day of my life.
Yeah, look, I think there was a realisation that, when I was talking about access the other day, like I walk around, blindly at a shopping centre.
Sure, yeah.
And of course I realised, but you're there, you're the one in the car, you've gone. But to fully appreciate that, I don't think it was until that event.
Yeah. A few years ago. Yeah. And look, I mean, this brings up a few things like where, if these are my internalized feelings of rejection and if this is the effect of all this on me, then like, and I bring this up because my father is adopted and I've always thought that this was a fact, or I mean, not thought, this is definitely a factor in all of this, in like his makeup. But, if I feel this way getting abandoned by one parent, right, like I don't know how people who are adopted cope at all. Because if you feel excluded from father's sons or daughters, mothers, or whatever the thing is for you, then imagine being given away. I mean, that's being rejected by the notion of family entirely.
Yes.
And how you then proceed to make your way through the world, I do not know. I've read a bit about the effects of adoption. There was this sort of old school term that I don't think is in vogue now, but adoption syndrome, which is basically kind of summing up the, the ongoing effect of someone who's been adopted. And I've listened to a few podcasts, people talking about adoption trauma and, and it's like, look.
And again, people have different experiences.
Of course they do.
Some people go on to renew some kind of relationship. Yeah. Other people don't. They are just so grateful for their adoptive parents.
But we one of our book episodes was on Blue Nights by Joan Didion, and one of the core problems in her life and her relationship with her daughter was, much like you not understanding that my father's in my head every day, was her not understanding that for her daughter Quintana, like her adoption was in her head at front of mind all her life as well.
Yes.
And that it was signaling or giving off, certain energies and thought patterns and feelings
leading
that
to different behaviours.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I mean, look, I'm not sitting here saying it's hopeless. Like if you've been abandoned one way or the other, you're screwed for life, kind of thing. I don't mean it that way. I'm just saying that it has a profound effect, and I think the abandonment wound, whether it's one parent leaving when you're 3 or 10 or 14, or it's adoption, or it's death of a parent. I mean, that's another thing as well, which I know nothing about. But it has an effect, and it goes on echoing all throughout your life. And until you're able to unless you're given the opportunity to talk about it and to talk it through and to understand that it is there. Under the surface of things is this thing. You're really doomed to this kind of, how it's been for me is this sort of this chamber of silence I've been in all my life, because I grew up thinking I didn't have a problem. Like, I thought about my father every day, but your parents told me all the time that I didn't have an issue with him. Forget him, move on, you're resilient, it's not an issue, don't worry about it. And that's not an answer.
No, because then you're doubting yourself, well, why am I feeling this way?
Yeah.
And also, you touched on before, the cultural issue. I mean, we're still in, even today, we have the family and what it should look like on a pedestal, even though there's all sorts of nuances now with family makeup. So there's always that feeling of, oh, well, my experience is not normal.
Yeah, of course.
Compounded all the time by the comparison to what society says about family.
I repressed these thoughts and these issues my whole life.
Yeah.
And it went on having horrendous effects in other areas of my life. Like it has affected my personal relationships and all that sort of thing. It's been very difficult to form them.
And I think you've carried that with how you feel about other people's families.
Yeah. I mean, I've been cautious of families, wary of them. I've also been like really worried about being abandoned again, myself. So there's all kinds of like, there's all sorts of patterns of thinking that have really wreaked havoc in my life. Because I really didn't know they were there. I see, it's this weird situation where it's like, it's such a difficult thing, because you don't want to give people a complex about themselves. So you don't want to tell people, hey, because this happened to you, you have a problem. Like, hey, your father left, so now you have an abandonment wound. But at the same time, you don't want to dupe and delude the person into a belief that they don't have that wound or that concern. Right. And I experienced the latter. I was sort of encouraged to think I had no problems. And so that became this weird hardship in and of itself, where it's I'm having problems, but I don't have any problems. So what's my problem?
Yeah.
And so I'm getting down on myself?
Yeah. But
for not being more resilient?
It comes back to, it's not labelling, it's acknowledging and understanding what you've been through in relation to yourself and in relation to others.
Yeah, that's the thing, is it's neutral. It's not about getting over something by either repressing it or addressing it. It's simply being open. And that's it.
Yeah.
Because I think that openness of communication is a salve in and of itself.
Yeah.
It's not about a big solution. It's not about medication or treatment or this or that. But it can't be met with denial. Like, just can't, because you won't know what the problems are later in life that begin to bubble up. And that was what happened to me. Was I started getting really overwhelmed. I was really emotionally dysregulated and having a tough time. I was like suicidal, and I was having flashbacks and memories, and all this kind of repressed shit was coming up, and I was getting more and more agitated. And because it had never been addressed or spoken about, I didn't have coping mechanisms. I'd never developed tools to deal with any of this, because none of this existed, or so I thought. And so I was just using alcohol and drugs as a crutch, and then that was making things worse, of course, exacerbating the problems I had or concealing them. And it just got worse and worse and worse and worse, as well as, being so unattuned with myself made me unattuned with others. I mean, we talked about this in the last episode,
Yeah.
but like,
Not
know,
recognising
not
a danger.
not developing a nose for phony situations and dangerous people.
Yeah.
I loved that quote.
Yeah.
Because of the attachment style. And so I ended up letting people into my life that were, oh my God, like today, the idea, like I have a horror when I think of some of the relationships I've had, not just like like friendships as well as whatever. And I'm like, oh, you were so vulnerable. You were so susceptible to these really negative influences, which then, of course, you pour alcohol and drugs on top of that,
Yeah.
and you pour all your internal fears and scared of being alone on top of that, and then you just have this bonfire of chaos, and that's where my life went. My life became completely unmanageable.
Key sentence there, which comes directly from the feeling of being abandoned, is your wariness of being on your own.
Yeah. Oh, it
It's
just brings
real.
it all back up for me.
Yeah.
I feel abandoned when I'm alone.
Yeah.
And that's why I have that fear. You know, I've said on previous episodes, like, you know, I don't have a problem with, like, my ideal is living in the granny flat out there.
Yeah.
I want to know there's someone there.
Yes.
I don't have to have them around me all the time, but I just need to know they're there.
Yeah, and that's been an eye-opener for me too, in realising that
Yeah.
about you.
Yeah. Because I just start freaking out, and when you're that vulnerable, when you're that worried about being alone, you will let anyone in.
That's right.
And that's what ended up happening with me.
happened.
Was I just kept letting people in just to deal with being alone.
Yeah.
But of course,
It led to other things.
you open the door to the whole neighborhood. It's like, well, you don't know where this is going to land, right? It's completely out of control at that point.
Yeah.
And that's definitely what happened in my case. Like, but that susceptibility, that vulnerability, there's also, and again, I don't want to gender things, but I think also there is a gender aspect to it, and it's something that I've talked about on my videos on the YouTube channel, is like, I think for a son without a father or a daughter without a mother, you know, it opens you up to some fucking weirdos who want to take on the mentor role, who want to be a father figure or male role model in your life. Like, there's a lot of freaks out there who they want to be somebody's daddy. And like, that is a particularly, I see it with young men a lot. Like, young men who don't have fathers often find themselves with men who want to exert influence and in other areas of their life.
Right.
And those guys are always maladjusted. It's all because of some fucking insecurity that they have, and they want to come in and take up the mantle of the absent father.
Right.
And they also want like a sidekick. They want someone that they can influence and inform, and
because they've missed out on
they've
that
missed out on that. It
themselves.
fills their ego, all
Right.
sorts of stuff. So
Okay.
like, in the landscape of university, academia, arts, sports, wherever it is, as a man without a father, you are so susceptible to freak men coming into your life. And it
Okay.
happened to me on more than one occasion.
Okay.
I had relationships with guys who were like absolutely defective. They didn't have children of their own, or sometimes they did, but you know, they had poor relationships, so now they could have this thing they didn't have. And it's like, and you end up with these guys who are just like, dude, yeah, I mean,
trying to rectify their own right.
that is a fucking minefield.
Okay.
And that's something that I would say to people with this abandonment wound, whether it's because a parent's left or you're adopted or what have you, is that the creeps that want to fill the void of influence, those are the big threats. And because we talked about secure, insecure attachment, you don't have a nose for phony situations and dangerous people. You end up with freaks who want to be your best friend. And that's happened to me several times.
Right.
And there's stuff that I know, like, we have never talked about. Okay. And there's a few things I probably just don't want to talk about.
Yeah.
But certainly throughout my lifetime, there have been predatory men who want to be this guy's best friend and play daddy to me.
Okay.
And it's taken me a long time to wake up to that.
Yeah.
And now I see him. I see him coming a mile away. I'm like, you've got some issue. You know, like you didn't get laid enough when you were 20, or you this or that, and you're looking for a buddy, but you kind of want to be in control of it. No way. And I say this as like a warning. Like, I mean, if you're listening to this, like, take heed, because, and I'm sure it happens for girls too in another way.
Yes,
I'm not saying it's only in this scenario, but, you know, do your due diligence for yourself, your own well-being, and learn what you might be susceptible to. Because you can save yourself a lot of fucking ruin by figuring that stuff out. Yeah. So that is the ongoing profound effects of abandonment.
Oh, yeah. It's quite unreal.
It's not unreal. People are ugly and society's hideous, and just go and build a cabin in the woods.
Let's not end on that note.
No. Look, the positive thing is that just get talking.
Know thyself is the positive thing.
Get talking early on. Is the message.
Yeah. Right. Yes.
Yeah. In whatever way that looks like for you, which is, you know, I mean, like, why we partly put this together is, like, you know, it's out there. If somebody uses this as a resource, you know, that's great. Like, they see people having a conversation, it might encourage them to have one of their own. So, you know, that's always the possibility. So we hope that's a positive outcome that can occur for you if you're listening to this or watching this. And if you're listening to this on whatever podcast app you're on, give us a follow. Please rate and review Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever else. And don't forget, we're on Substack, barrowpod.substack.com. There will be another reading from our memoir-in-progress out tomorrow as we continue putting the manuscript together and putting our feelers out there, seeing if, I mean, who really would want to publish this, but hopefully, maybe. Bye.